Hey, this ThinkerThunker. Why is it that science and pretty much all the rest of the world think that the Patterson Bigfoot footage is one of the biggest hoaxes and jokes in history, and yet the entire scientific community, along with the science-worshiping masses, they literally couldn't get enough of the Dyatlov Pass incident. I mean, it was featured everywhere on all the major scientific study sites, all celebrating how science had done the impossible. Science had finally, after 60 years, solved the Dyatlov Pass mystery. Wouldn't it be ironic and just a little funny if somebody had simple scientific proof that was right there all along, proving that the Patterson Bigfoot mystery and the Dyatlov Pass incident were both encounters with the same unknown species? And science stared at it for 60 years and never saw it. Let's go check it out. All right, first thing we need to do is find that knee joint so we can see the shin coming up about like that. And about right there, it changes angle and goes up with the thigh. And that puts the knee about right there. Now, I would prefer to start with the ankle, but it's buried in the snow. And next, just to make sure I get all the major body joints lined up right, I've got this human 3D skeleton that I had to kind of radically rescale its body parts, which should tell you something. And we're going to line it up about like that, again, so that we can see where all the major body joints are. All right, time to measure. This won't take long. I'm just going to measure using a graphical measurement bar, going from the center of the knee joint up to the hip socket, like that. Next, I'm going to measure the torso, and I'm going to start about at the tip of the tailbone area and go up to the base of the neck, about like that. Now, normally, I like to measure legs, torso, and arms, but here, we don't get a good look at its arms. It looks like they're kind of drawn back in kind of an aggressive pose with the forearms bent up, but that's okay. We're just going to go with the torso and the thigh. All right, now we can see what we're dealing with. I've pulled the torso and the thigh over here, lined them up in what I call a proportional DNA chart, PDNA chart, and first column is the torso. Second column is going to be the legs, and since we know that human thighs and shins are relatively the same length, I'm going to make a copy of that thigh and pull it down. And now we've got the torso and the legs. And we can see that whatever this guy is here, right here, it has a torso and legs the same relative length. Okay, so here we go. This is it. This is the big comparison. Time to see if the massive black entity here is, in fact, just one of the 9 hikers, or is it another species? And to determine that, we are going to drop in one of the 9 hikers. This is Nikolai Thibeaux-Brignol. He is the guy that took frame 17. And let me remind you, this is the last photograph that Nikolai ever took before having his skull crushed in. So here is Nikolai's 3D skeleton. I posed to fit him. I did not have to modify or alter the skeleton, this human skeleton. It lined up perfectly with Nikolai's body, as you would suspect it would. And now here are Nikolai's measurement bars. And you can see that his shin and thigh are the same relative length. And now I am going to drop in Nikolai's PDNA chart. Have a look at the two. Are they the same? No, they are not. They are profoundly different. Let's have a look. And first, let me remind you here, look at these blue bars. I scaled these two to roughly the same height, roughly. So look, green team on the left. There is no reason that its torso would be 20% longer than Nikolai's. And looking at Nikolai's body proportions, we see that his legs are an astounding 30% longer than his torso. Same as your legs are, same as my legs. The same as every normal, typical adult human on the planet, whether you're male, female, no, it doesn't matter what ethnicity, We all share these same identical proportions. So this is simple, scientific, measurable, repeatable proof that whatever the massive black entity is, it is not a human. Because the fact of the matter is, you cannot stretch your torso out 20% longer, or you cannot shrink your legs 10% shorter. That is impossible. I can tell you that there is no other species on the planet, especially large primates or predators like bears, that have body proportions like us human. These massively long legs of ours cannot be faked. And I can also tell you that there is no species on the planet like the massive black entity over here that has a torso and legs the same length. And I'm betting that had we been able to measure its arms would have been the exact same length as its torso and legs. So there you go. Even if the magical avalanche story or one of the other ridiculous explanations was true, those kids still encountered a massive non-human and have photographic evidence of it. All right, so this is the thing I've been waiting for a year to show the world. Now, those of you who've read my book Solved, you've already seen this. The question is the massive black entity its own non-human species, or have we seen this before? So to test that, I'm going to drop in the Patterson Bigfoot Patty. There is Patty's skeleton. You see, I've measured her the same way. See where her major body joints are. There are Patty's measurements. We do see Patty's arms. I could have measured them, but again, just to keep this simple, just torso and legs. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. This is the comparison test that's been over a half a century in the making. I personally have been working towards this moment right here for over a decade now. Are these two the same species? If they are, I mean, that's going to be incredible. That's going to mean that Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin encountered the exact same unknown species that the Dyatlov 9 encountered and photographed. And all we have to do to know that is drop in Patty's PDNA chart right there. Let me zoom in so that we can see. Would you say these two PDNA charts are similar? No, you would say they're practically identical. Identical, which proves that these are, in fact, the same species. But hang on, not so fast. How could I possibly do this just taking two measurements from the massive black entity? Well, looking at Patty here, let me get rid of her measurements right there. Look, we see that Patty's thigh and shin are the same length. And we know, looking at Nikolai, his and yours and all normal typical adult humans have a thigh and the shin the same length. So it only stands to reason that the massive black entity would also have a thigh and the shin the same length. Bottom line, for all you nitpickers out there, I would have had to have mismeasured the massive black entity's torso by about that much before it would line up with the length of a human torso, and I would have had to have been about this wrong on its thigh before it lined up with a human thigh. That is the astounding difference between us and them. And that is the beauty of my PDNA system. It allows us, for the first time ever, to finally see those astounding differences. And now, after 60-something years, we finally know the truth behind frame 17 here, which has to be one of the biggest smoking gun pieces of evidence ever to be ignored. And now we know 100% for sure that this could not possibly have been one of those 9 hikers. And now we know 100% for sure that Nikolai Thibault-Brignol did in fact risk his life taking this picture. I mean, this was definitely a run for your life moment, but he turned around long enough to take this picture, and I'm thankful that he did. He must have been desperate to let his parents and schoolmates and the world know what they encountered out there. And we also know that this was the last picture that Nikolai ever took before having his skull crushed in. What we don't know is when he met his death. In a strange way, wrapping all this up, I hope that somehow this brings the Dyatlov 9, those 9 kids, and Roger Patterson, I hope it brings them some peace, knowing that the truth is finally out there, knowing that both of them encountered this same unknown by science species, and that for whatever reason with the Dyatlov 9, their encounter turned deadly. And we also know 100% for sure that when the world scientific community tells us that they have solved a great mystery, we know we can take that with a grain of salt. We know that they ignored the coroner's report and photographic evidence. Why would they do that? All right, everybody, that is all I've got. Thank you so much for watching this. Special thanks, as always, to my patrons and YouTube members. Without their monthly support, $1 a month, some more, we would not have this truth. We would not now know the answer. We would not have connected these 2 amazing encounters, the Patterson Bigfoot footage film and the Dyatlov 9. We would not have the connection. So I hope you are all very satisfied and happy that your support led to this, because it also led to proportional DNA, the simple scientific tool that lets us know what figures like this are and can prove 100% for sure that this couldn't possibly be a human. All right, everybody, take care. Thanks for watching.